Arceus is the closest thing the Pokemon world has to a capital G god. It is the original one, the Alpha Pokemon, the being that hatched into an empty universe and shaped everything we know with 1,000 arms it does not appear to have. It made time. It made space. It made the very concept of matter obeying rules. Every other legendary, every myth, every region we have ever set foot in traces back to this one white deer horse thing standing at the top of the whole pyramid. So the answer to the question is obviously no. There is nothing above Arceus. Case closed. Thanks for watching. Except the deeper you actually dig into the lore, the more that clean little answer starts to fall apart. Because the moment you accept that Arceus created the universe, you run headfirst into a problem the games have never once bothered to solve. Arceus hatched from an egg, and nobody in any game, book, or movie has ever explained where that egg came from. That single detail cracks the whole foundation open, and once it is open, a surprising number of candidates start crawling out of it. So today I want to actually take this seriously and go looking for the gods above God. Let me warn you now that most of this is theory, some of it is straight up unanswered by canon, and a couple of these are going to make your brain hurt in a fun way. Let me know in the comments if I miss one, because I know you people will. There is only one place to start, and it is that egg. According to the Sinnoh creation myth, the version written in the Canalave library and expanded on in Legends Arceus, the universe began as a churning vortex of chaos and nothingness. Out of that chaos, a single egg appeared. That egg hatched Arceus, and Arceus then got to work building reality. It is a beautiful origin story, and it is the reason Arceus gets called the oldest Pokemon in existence. It predates the universe. It predates matter. It predates the concept of before. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud, though. An egg is not a beginning. An egg is a middle. Everything we have ever observed about eggs in the Pokemon world and ours tells us that an egg is the product of something else. Something laid it. So if Arceus came from an egg, and that egg came from the chaos, then the real question is not what created the universe. The real question is what created the thing that created the universe? The myth hands you a creator and then quietly admits, in the very same sentence, that the creator was born from something it did not make. And this gets sharper the more you know about what Arceus can actually do with eggs. In the Sinnoh Ruins, a location tied to the game's events at Johto and Sinnoh, Arceus demonstrates something remarkable. It can create eggs. Specifically, it can recreate the eggs of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, hatching a fresh member of the creation trio on demand. So Arceus is not just a thing that came from an egg. It is a thing that produces eggs, eggs that hatch into gods, which loops the whole problem into a much tighter knot. If the way you make a creation deity in this universe is to lay an egg for it, and Arceus can do exactly that, then the egg Arceus hatched from starts to look less like a random miracle and more like the product of a process that requires an egg layer. And the only kind of being we have ever seen lay an egg that hatches a world-shaping god is another world-shaping god. You can feel the recursion opening up under your feet. An Arceus before Arceus, a creator that created the creator using the exact method the creator now uses to make its own children. The games never say this, but they hand you every piece of it and then look away. The games offer two ways out of this, and neither one is comfortable. The first is that the egg was spontaneous. It just appeared. No parent, no cause, a genuine miracle with nothing behind it, which is a fine answer for a mythology and a terrible answer for anyone who wanted a tidy top of the chain, because it means the actual first cause of the Pokemon universe is not Arceus at all. It is the chaos itself, an unnamed, unknowable force that produced a god and then vanished from the story entirely. If you want a thing that sits above Arceus, the swirling nothing that made its egg is already sitting there, and it has been since Diamond and Pearl. The second way out is stranger, and this is where it gets good. There is a recurring idea in the deeper lore that the Arceus we meet is not really Arceus. The main series describes it as a divine being whose true form cannot be comprehended by human minds. And the shape we see, the four-legged white creature with the golden wheel, is essentially a fragment, an avatar, a version of itself small enough to fit inside our reality without breaking it. And the strongest evidence for this comes straight from that 1,000 arms line. The myth says Arceus shaped the world with 1,000 arms. Look at Arceus. It has 0 arms. It has 4 hooves and a very smug expression. So how does a creature with no arms shape a universe with 1,000 of them? The cleanest explanation is that each individual Arceus, the one you fight, the one in the Hall of Origin, is 1 arm. 1 finger of something enormously larger that never fully enters the frame. Under that reading, there is a god above Arceus, and it is Arceus, the true one, the incomprehensible one. The thing casting the shadow we keep mistaking for the whole. We have never met it because by the game's own admission, we cannot. Our minds are not built to hold it. There is more support for this than just a missing pair of arms. Consider how carefully the games keep the real Arceus offstage. You do not simply walk up to it. In the original Sinnoh games, reaching Arceus required the Azure Flute, an item so rare it was essentially never distributed, and even then you were led up a staircase into the Hall of Origin, a place that exists apart from the normal map, sitting above the world rather than in it. The franchise treats an audience with Arceus the way real religions treat a vision of the divine. It is gated, it is conditional, and it happens in a space that is deliberately not part of ordinary reality. The lore even suggests that the physical Arceus can be destroyed without truly ending Arceus, because the body is only a vessel, an expression of something that does not depend on any single form to keep existing. Destroy the avatar and the god persists, untouched, because you never actually reach the god. You reach the glove it was wearing. Put those pieces together and a picture forms that is honestly closer to theology than to a monster manual. The Arceus you can name, fight, and stand in front of is a controlled projection, a safe interface. The thing that projects it stays hidden in a realm above the Hall of Origin, formless, armless in the sense that it has more arms than a body could hold, and permanent in a way that no captured creature ever is. If that is true, then the god above Arceus is not a separate character we are waiting to meet in some future game. It is the real Arceus, and every version we have ever battled has been its shadow puppet. I find that genuinely unsettling in the best way, and the franchise has hinted at exactly this kind of multiplicity before. A lot of legendary Pokémon are treated as singular in each game, but are heavily implied to exist in numbers across the wider world. There is not one Regirock. There are almost certainly many. If that logic extends all the way up to the top, then the Arceus in your party is a shard, and the entity it answers to has never once shown its face. Now, some of you are already typing that this is all just interpretation, and you are right. So let me move to something the games actually put on screen. Let me talk about Giratina. Giratina was the 3rd member of the creation trio, born alongside Dialga and Palkia to govern antimatter. And Giratina was, in the eyes of Arceus, a mistake. Too violent, too chaotic, unfit for the ordered universe Arceus was trying to build. So it was cast out, banished to the Distortion world, a realm that runs on none of the rules the rest of reality obeys. Time does not flow there. Space does not hold its shape. Gravity is a suggestion. It is, in every meaningful sense, the one place Arceus decided not to govern. And that is the part I want you to sit with. The Distortion world is not a lesser version of the normal world. It is an inversion of it. It is what reality looks like where Arceus' order does not reach. Which means Giratina is not just a banished sibling sulking in the corner. Giratina is proof that there is territory outside the creator jurisdiction. A whole dimension where the laws Arceus wrote simply do not apply, ruled by a Pokémon that has every reason to hold a grudge against the one who exiled it. There is a structural detail here that I think gets overlooked. The Distortion world is not just a prison Arceus dug and threw a bad kid into. It is a mirror. It is the reverse of our reality. An inversion where up and down and here and there stop meaning what they mean on our side. And you do not get a mirror unless there is already a structure for it to reflect. A reverse world implies a forward world, and the pairing of the two implies a larger frame that contains both, a frame that decided reality would come in these matched opposites. Arceus governs the forward side. Giratina governs the reverse. But who decided reality would be built as a two-sided coin in the first place? That design choice, the very existence of a normal world and an anti-world as a matched set, feels like it sits at a level even Arceus is operating inside rather than above. The creator may rule one face of the coin. It did not necessarily mint the coin. Cynthia, our resident lore professor, floats an idea in Platinum that makes this even spicier. She suggests Giratina may be capable of merging the Distortion world with the regular world if both are ever in danger. Think about what that implies. If Giratina can pull its lawless anti-universe up over the top of the Ordered One and fuse them, then Giratina holds a power Arceus specifically designed the universe to prevent. It might take Dialga and Palkia being knocked out first, sure, but the mere fact that the option exists tells you the creator did not build a perfect cage. It built a very good one, with one Pokemon still rattling the bars from the outside. I am not going to claim Giratina is above Arceus. It clearly is not. Arceus made it and exiled it at will, but Giratina occupies a space that Arceus does not control, and in a video about what sits beyond the reach of God, a dimension God chose to abandon is exactly the kind of thing we are hunting for. So we file Giratina under evidence and keep moving. Because the next one is the moment the fourth wall starts getting thin. In Legends Arceus, the game opens with a voice. Not a Pokemon on screen, not a professor, just a disembodied presence speaking directly to you in the dark. It welcomes you. It asks your name and your appearance. And it tells you that it is Arceus. Then it reaches into your reality, the one with the phone you are holding, and pulls you through a rift in the sky, dropping you into the distant past of the Hisui region with a device called the Arc Phone and a single command. Seek out all Pokemon. On the surface, this is simple. Arceus summoned the hero. God reached down and chose a champion. The end. And the game does state fairly plainly that the voice is Arceus, but look at what is actually happening in that opening, because it is doing something no other Pokemon story does. It is reaching across dimensions. It is speaking to a person who does not live in the Pokemon world at all. It knows about our reality. It references the modern world you came from. Whatever is talking to you at the start of Legends Arceus has a reach that extends past its own universe and into a completely separate one, ours. And it can grab a human out of that universe and relocate them through time and space like it is nothing. Here's the question that opens up. If that voice truly is Arceus, then Arceus' power is far, far larger than the in-world lore ever lets on. It is not just the god of one universe. It is something that can perceive and manipulate other realities entirely, including the one where its own game is being played. And if the voice is not Arceus, if it is only claiming to be, then there is a being pretending to be the creator, operating above the creator, using Arceus' name as a mask while it moves people between worlds for reasons we are never told. And you are not even the only one it pulled through. The character Ingo, a subway boss from a completely different region, and it seems a completely different time, is also stranded in ancient Hisui, having fallen through the same kind of rift with his memories scrambled. So whatever force is opening these tiers in space and time is not making a single, careful, one-off exception for a chosen hero. It is moving multiple people across eras and regions, plucking them out of their own moments and dropping them into a distant past. And it does this with a casualness that should terrify anyone paying attention. Time travel in most fiction is the ultimate forbidden power, the thing that breaks stories. Here it is, the opening cutscene. Whoever is doing it treats the timeline the way you or I treat a bookmark. That scale of control over time itself is the part that does not sit neatly under the label of Arceus as we understand it. Arceus is the master of many things, but time specifically was delegated. That was Dialga's job. Dialga governs the flow of time, the river the myth describes. So if the voice at the start of Legends Arceus is casually hauling people up and down the timeline, It is either exercising a power that supposedly belongs to one of Arceus' creations rather than Arceus itself, or it is something that stands above the entire division of labor, above the neat assignment of time to Dialga and space to Palkia, reaching over all of it to do as it pleases. Either answer is enormous. Either Arceus reach dwarfs everything canon has ever shown us, or something is wearing Arceus like a costume. The game leaves that door open and then walks away from it, which is either brilliant or lazy depending on your mood. Kajita, the mysterious, ageless woman you meet later, drops a line that keeps this alive, wondering aloud whether the world exists only because minds are present to perceive it. That is not a throwaway. That is the game quietly asking whether reality itself is downstream of an observer. And if the universe only exists because it is being watched, then the watcher, whoever that is, sits above the thing being watched. Above Arceus included. Hold on to that idea of the observer because it is going to come back at the end, and when it does, it is going to be a little embarrassing for the creator of all things. For now, let me bring this down from the cosmic to the practical, because there is a much simpler crack in Arceus' divinity, and you have personally exploited it. You can catch Arceus in a ball, like a caterpie. Let me really lay out how absurd this is. In Legends Arceus, once you have completed your task and earned the right, you climb to the Hall of Origin and you meet the creator of the universe. And then you battle it. You throw your team at the god that made time itself. You whittle it down, and you chuck a Pokeball at the being that spun the stars into existence. And it works. The original one, the Alpha Pokemon, the entity that predates matter, goes into a device you can buy at a corner store, and from that point on, it obeys a teenager. It sits in your party between your Bidoof and your Staraptor. You can put it in a box, you can trade it, you can, if you are a monster, release it into the wild. And the mechanics do not soften this at all. The same Pokeball technology that captures a Rattata captures the creator of the universe. There is no special divine exception, no unbreakable higher law that shields Arceus from the little sphere. The system a 10-year-old uses to collect bug types on Route 1 works without modification on the being that predates matter. Think about how strange that is as a statement about the hierarchy of this world. The tools of an ordinary trainer are sufficient to subdue God. Nothing in the fabric of reality rises up to say no when you wind back your arm in the Hall of Origin. The universe that Arceus supposedly built does not protect its own author from being pocketed by a kid who got there on foot. Whatever else that scene proves, it proves that Arceus' supremacy is conditional. A god that can be defeated and owned is not an unassailable god. And the games know this because they built an entire villain around wanting exactly that outcome for a much darker reason. Volo, the friendly merchant who spends all of Legends Arceus at your side, turns out to have been chasing Arceus the whole time. His plan was to summon the Creation Trio, force Arceus to appear, and take its power for himself so he could tear down this world and build a new one he liked better. He deliberately clawed open the space-time rift to make it happen. And when Arceus chooses you over him at the end, Volo does not accept that the god has spoken and give up. He leaves in a cold fury, swearing that he will conquer Arceus one day, even if it takes him centuries. He does not treat Arceus as an untouchable absolute. He treats it as an obstacle. A very powerful obstacle standing between him and the throne, but an obstacle that can, in principle, be removed and replaced. And Volo is not even the first. Cyrus in the original Sinnoh games wanted to use Dialga and Palkia to erase the current universe and remake it in his own image, casting himself as the god of the new one. Over and over, the villains of this franchise look at the position of creator and think, that is a job opening, and I am applying. They keep failing. But the fact that the role is treated as something a human can aspire to seize means the games themselves do not consider Arceus' throne permanently occupied. In their own logic, the seat above the world is contestable. It just happens to be very well defended, so the trainer stands above Arceus in a functional sense because the trainer commands it, and the villains stand beside the idea of standing above it because they see the throne as winnable. Both of those things chip away at the picture of Arceus as an untouchable ceiling. But if you want the clearest proof that Arceus is not invincible, that it is a god with a health bar and a weakness chart, you have to leave the games and go to the movies. Because in the anime, Arceus very nearly dies. To a mouse. The film is Arceus and the Jewel of Life, and the setup is this. Long ago, a storm of meteors threatened to destroy the world, and Arceus intervened to stop them. In doing so, it was gravely wounded and lost the life plates that normally shield it from harm. Near death, it was saved by a man named Deimos, who returned the plates and nursed the creator back from the edge. In gratitude, Arceus took 5 of its own plates and forged the Jewel of Life, an object that turned a barren wasteland into a thriving paradise, and it lent this jewel to humanity with the understanding that it would one day be returned. When Arceus came back to collect what it was owed, it was betrayed. And here is the critical detail. By giving away 5 of its plates to make the jewel, Arceus had stripped away part of its own defenses. It had made itself vulnerable. Specifically, without those plates, the god that governs all types could suddenly be hurt by electric attacks. So when the betrayal came, when the humans turned on the creator with a barrage of electricity, the supreme being of the universe was nearly electrocuted to death. The being that made the stars was one sustained thunderbolt away from ceasing to exist, brought that low by its own generosity and a handful of angry people with the right type advantage. Now, the movie resolves this. The betrayal was orchestrated by a hidden villain named Marcus. Deimos was innocent. Time travel fixes everything. Arceus survives and forgives. That is the plot. But the lore implication does not get undone by the happy ending. The anime established on screen that Arceus can be wounded, that it can be brought to the brink of death, that it has a weakness, and that a determined enough group of mortals armed with the correct element can very nearly kill God. A creator that can die is not omnipotent. Its supremacy is not a law of nature. It is a status it maintains, and status can be lost. Take that thought and run it forward, and you arrive at maybe the most disturbing theme in the entire franchise. One this channel has poked at before. Humans in the Pokemon world are absolutely obsessed with building, controlling, or replacing God. And they have gotten unnervingly close. The clearest example lives in Alola. The Ether Foundation ran something called the Beast Killer Project, and out of it came a Pokemon called Type Full, later renamed Type Null. The entire design brief for this creature was, and I am not exaggerating, to recreate Arceus. It was engineered with an artificial system, the RKS system, meant to let it change types the way Arceus does with its plates, a synthetic god. A creator built in a lab by people who looked at the divine and decided they could manufacture their own. The experiment did not fully succeed. The Pokemon rejected the system and had to be fitted with a control mask to keep it stable, which is why it got the name Null in the first place. A zero, a failure. But sit with the ambition. There were scientists in this universe who set out deliberately to build God from scratch. And they got far enough to produce a living thing that could wear the creator abilities like a borrowed coat. And Type. Null was not some lone experiment cooked up by one rogue scientist in isolation. The RKS system it was built around traces back to research laboratories in Galar, meaning the ambition to reproduce Arceus type-shifting divinity was spread across regions and institutions. This was infrastructure. This was funded, organized, multi-region science aimed squarely at manufacturing the powers of the creator. When a civilization builds standing laboratories dedicated to reverse engineering God, that civilization has already decided God is a system that can be understood, copied, and improved on. Reverence does not build a lab. Ambition does. Cyrus took the same conviction in a different direction and made it into a whole philosophy. He did not merely want power. He looked at the world Arceus built, at its incomplete hearts and its messy emotions, and he decided the creator had done a bad job. His plan was to seize Dialga and Palkia, collapse the existing universe, and forge a new one with himself installed at the top. A world remade to his specifications with him as its god. That is not the mindset of someone who believes Arceus sits on an unreachable throne. That is the mindset of a critic filing a complaint about the manager and applying for the position in the same breath. Layer those together: the lab-built god in Alola, the philosopher tyrant in Sinnoh, the eternal schemer in Hisui, the murderer in the movie. In the manga version of the Jewel of Life story, the villain Marcus is not hypnotizing anyone to save his town. His goal is stated plainly: kill Arceus and become a god himself. There is a pattern here that is too consistent to be an accident. The Pokemon world treats godhood as a technology, as a position, as something that can be engineered, seized, murdered for, and inherited. And you do not build a machine to replace something that is truly beyond replacement. The very existence of a beast killer project, of a lab trying to synthesize Arceus, is the clearest possible statement that the people living inside this universe do not believe their creator sits safely and permanently above everything. They think the throne can be taken. Some of them are actively working on it. So far, everything I have brought you sits inside Arceus' own universe. Its egg, its avatar, its exiled sibling, its captured body, its near-death, its would-be replacements. All of that lives in the reality Arceus supposedly built. But there is one more category, and this one is different, because it points at territory Arceus may never have created at all. I am talking about the Ultra Beasts and the worlds they come from. Starting in the Alola games, we learn that reality is riddled with wormholes leading to Ultra Space, a set of dimensions completely separate from the world we know. And through those wormholes come the Ultra Beasts. Creatures so alien that the people who study them are not even sure they should be classified as Pokemon. They come from somewhere else. Somewhere with its own rules, its own ecosystems, its own history that has nothing to do with the creation myth we have been tracing this whole video. Nihiligo, Buzzwole, the whole roster, they are visitors from realities that sit outside the Sinnoh myth entirely. And this is the quiet bombshell. The creation story only ever describes Arceus building one world, its universe. Time, space, matter, the sky, the land, the Pokemon, all of it framed as Arceus shaping the chaos into a single ordered reality. Nowhere does the myth say Arceus created Ultra Space. Nowhere does it claim authorship over those other dimensions. So if there are entire worlds beyond the wormholes that Arceus did not make, then Arceus is not the creator of everything. It is the creator of a universe, one among what might be many, and something else, some other force or forces, governs the rest. And it is not only the beasts that arrive, people fall through too. The lore includes the idea of ultra wormhole travelers, individuals who slip out of our familiar world and into ultra space and come back changed, sometimes barely able to describe what they saw. Whole organizations like the Ether Foundation and the group of interdimensional travelers known as the Ultra Recon Squad are built around the fact that these other realities are real, reachable, and populated. This is not a fringe corner of the lore that one obscure NPC mentions once. It is a load-bearing part of an entire generation of games. The universe is established, on the record, to be one room in a much larger structure, with doors leading out of it into places that operate on foreign laws. Now line that up against the creation myth one more time. Arceus shaped the chaos into a world. That is the claim. But the chaos it shaped was the chaos of its own universe, and the ordered reality it produced was its own universe. Ultra Space is not described as chaos that Arceus tamed. It is described as a separate set of dimensions that were simply already there, coexisting alongside our own, with their own inhabitants who predate any contact with the world we know. If Arceus made everything, those places should be its handiwork too. They are never framed that way. They are framed as elsewhere, as outside. An outside implies a boundary, and a boundary implies that Arceus Dominion has an edge, and an edge implies that on the far side of it, something Arceus did not make continues on without needing the creator at all. Necrozma drives this home. This is a Pokemon that came from another world, that stole the light from an entire separate dimension called Ultra Megalopolis, and that then invaded through the wormholes to do the same to Alola. Necrozma is not part of Arceus' creation. It is an external power, a light-devouring entity from outside the creator domain, strong enough to plunge whole worlds into darkness. If Arceus made and rules everything, where did this thing come from? And why does the creation myth have nothing to say about the dimension it originally terrorized? The honest answer is that Arceus mythology stops at the edge of its own universe, and beyond that edge there is a multiverse full of beings and realities that the creator of the Pokemon world had no hand in shaping. Something made those, and whatever did is, by definition, operating on a level Arceus' creation story never even acknowledges. That is the strongest in-fiction case I can build for something above the creator. Not a rival inside the house, but the possibility that the house is one of many on a street Arceus did not lay. Which leaves one final candidate. And I have been dancing around it the entire video, so let me finally say it. The being that most obviously sits above Arceus is you. I mean that fairly literally. Everything Arceus is, does, and endures in these games happens because a person outside the universe decided it should. Arceus appears when you reach the Hall of Origin because you played far enough to trigger it. It battles you because the game is designed for you to fight it. It goes into the ball because you threw it. It is, in the most direct sense possible, a character in an experience authored for and controlled by someone in a completely different reality. Holding a device, making choices that the god of the Pokemon world is powerless to refuse. Remember that opening voice in Legends Arceus, the one that reached across dimensions and spoke to the person holding the phone? The game reached toward the player because the player is the one presence in this whole equation that Arceus genuinely cannot create, control, or comprehend. You are the observer Kogita was talking about, the mind whose perception the world might depend on. The hand that reaches into the universe and moves the pieces, including the creator. And if you want to go one level past even that, past the trainer, the true god above Arceus is the developer. It is Game Freak. It is the writers who decided the egg would come from chaos and then declined to explain the chaos. It is the designers who gave a creator god a weakness to electricity for the length of one movie. Arceus is called the original one, but it is not original. It was drawn, named, given stats, and a signature move and a backstory by people who could rewrite every bit of it tomorrow if they wanted to. The most powerful being in the Pokemon world answers ultimately to a room full of humans in Japan who could delete it with a patch. That is the real hierarchy, and it is the one hierarchy Arceus can never fight its way to the top of. So, are there gods above Arceus? Officially instated, confirmed, printed in the guide canon, the answer is that nothing is ever named above it. Arceus is the top of the ladder the games are willing to show you. But the moment you stop reading the myth as scripture and start reading it as a story with cracks in it, the ceiling turns out to be full of holes. There is the egg that something had to lay and the chaos that laid it. There is the true, incomprehensible form the games admit we are only seeing a sliver of. There is the exiled sibling ruling a dimension the creator abandoned, the voice reaching in from outside reality. The trainer who catches God, the villains who treat its throne as vacant, the movie where it nearly dies to a mouse, the lab that tried to build a replacement, and the multiverse full of worlds it never claims to have made. None of those is a confirmed god sitting on a higher throne. All of them are the game leaving the door open and daring you to walk through it. My honest read is that Game Freak has never wanted an answer here, because the mystery is worth more than the solution. A creator with a clean, closed origin is just a strong Pokemon. A creator that hatched from an egg nobody can explain is a genuine myth, and myths are supposed to have a hole at the center where the biggest question lives. Arceus is powerful precisely because we can never quite see the top of it. If you have got a theory about what laid that egg, or which of these you think actually holds up, put it in the comments because this is exactly the kind of thing I love arguing about with you people. That is it for this one. If you made it all the way to the end, you clearly like this stuff, so do me a favor and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.